No, it's true. We're continually in movement with the breath. You know, you're born, you start breathing, you breathe your whole life, and then you die. So you're in continual motion. I mean, it's a bit more complicated than just that, but as far as the breath goes. So when you actually do that in the breath, when you stop, it takes you into that place of stopping in yourself, and it takes you back, for me, it takes you back before birth, before you started breathing, to that place you were before you started breathing. And for me, that's a place of creation that everything manifests out of. And we're so active in our lives, you know, it's like our whole lives are around achieving things. And again, which also relates much more to do with the in-breath. The in-breath is an activity. The muscles are contracting, even though it's an expansion. For that expansion, the muscles contract and the lungs and chest expands. So there's a doing, there's a physical exertion on the in-breath. And as long as you don't breathe out too far, the out-breath, all you really have to do is relax the muscles. It's a let go. Whereas our lives are much more within the society we live in. Our existence is much more based around doing. The art of not doing is not promoted
enough
at all. It's quite frowned upon to sit around doing nothing. Remember, a friend is in a Buddhist, for a long time ago, when I lived in St. Albans, and one friend who'd gone off and become a Buddhist monk and lived in an ashram in Cumbria. Another friend had phoned him up asking what he's doing. Then he said, "Oh, I'm doing a lot of meditation." And Ian said, "Well, as long as you're not sitting around doing nothing." And I kind of looked into this thing about the default. People naturally are focused on the in-breath, which is this doing. And it's built into the fabric of our society. But what I also realized, when you do allow the out-breath, you drop in the body, it becomes dark, and for me it's a place like earth. Who felt it as connecting deeper to the earth? And the earth within themselves, and there was a solidness to it. And what occurred to me was that when this receiving, you know, we're going out to get a nice house, a nice car, a nice girlfriend, whatever, or just to be seen as doing or accomplishing or whatever we're meant to be doing to look good and be okay in our lives. What we're taking from is the earth. All of that. Your house is made from the earth. The electricity is made from burning fuel or whatever from the earth. Our bodies are made from the earth. So everything we're receiving in a manifest physical form is made of the body of the earth. So we're taking from the earth. And it occurred to me, well, one, we're not giving back, we are just depleting the earth, but we are actually giving back. We're giving back pollution. So we're actually taking from the earth and giving back pollution. And one of the main things that seemed to be holding that in place to me was money. Because when you buy something, you give somebody some money, most people think that's a fair deal. Okay, I've worked for that money, I've given it to that person, and I've got this thing back. It pays for the people's effort in the transaction. It doesn't pay the earth for the minerals she's given over, for the metals she's given over, for the trees that have died, for the animals that have died, for the pollution that's been made. So it seems like a fair transaction, but it's only a fair transaction between the people. It's not taking into account what we're taking from the earth and the pollution we're making in it. And you know, it is good to give back to the earth, but I think just acknowledging that within ourselves, I think the unacknowledgement of that is a lot to do with this disconnect from the earth. When we acknowledge that we are doing that, we're receiving from the earth. Everything we get comes from the earth. Everything physical is coming from the earth. It has the interaction with the heavenly body, but the physicalness of it, it's made from the earth. Our bodies are made from the earth. It's all made. And just to acknowledge, yeah, we're buying it and that's going to the other person, but actually that is being given to us from the earth. It is a gift from the earth. And I think if we were to acknowledge that more, that would connect us to the earth. But it's hard to acknowledge that, oh, we're receiving all this stuff and we're giving back pollution. It's not an easy acknowledgement to make. So, as just an experiment, I thought, well, I'll try that and just do a little prayer to the earth. You know, thank you for everything I have, and sorry for the pollution that I've caused. And in doing that prayer, I noticed in doing it, my attention went into the out-breath, and I sank in my body, and there was that connection to the earth. And there was a deep sadness in myself, because it's, you know, it's very hard to actually do anything about what is going on. Everyone can see it going on, everybody knows it's going on, but to actually do something about that is not an easy thing. And then, but there's something is being lost in not acknowledging it, not acknowledging what's happening. And so, if it's okay with everyone, we're going to do a prayer like that. And notice when you make that prayer and you acknowledge that everything you've got is coming from the earth and that you are creating pollution or whatever in return, you may feel a sadness, but you also may feel like, oh, okay, now there's a communication. And then we'll also do the same prayer and include the higher self in it. And you may feel, because it is, everything we're getting is from the earth, it is physically from the earth, but it is also physically the interaction of the sun and the earth, the trees growing, the minerals being formed. It is an interaction of the sun and earth and heavens and earth and heavenly beings of the earth. And then you may feel the energy more coming into the in-breath and balancing through both. But I kind of in myself, or for myself, that seemed to be the fundamental disconnect from the out-breath was our acknowledgement of our interaction with the earth. And at this stage, you know, there is, you know, obviously you can maybe plant trees or give something back in some way. And I also remember, because, you know, I'm a traveller, I live in a van, you know, I had some hard times and I lost everything and lived in a van. But I was still the same person, I could still breathe, and I was just living along the ridgeway. And to the outside it just looked like I was kind of some kind of hippie bum or something who had lost all their money. But I'd go to sleep in the woods and in these different places, and I'd feel great. And when I put my head down, because you're quite vulnerable, because there can be people come along, or there can be hair coursers can come along, or the police can come along, whatever, I would make a prayer to the earth, saying, thank you for this place for me to sleep, thank you. And, you know, the energy would come up from the earth and be, yeah, you're welcome. You are just as much, this land may be owned by someone else or the National Trust or whoever, but you are just as much, just as you should get just as much benefit from it as anybody else. Nobody can actually own the earth. Within our society, it's like we've taken bits of the earth and say, we own this. Nobody asked the earth. There was nothing was given back to the earth in that transaction. The person who was there before got paid. Nothing got given to the earth. When it was first taken, no one asked the earth, oh, we're going to section this off, or when they killed the last people and took it over. Nobody actually asked the earth. So we've taken a lot, and we presume ownership of the earth, and we presume when we give a bit of money for to get something, it goes to the other person. That is a fair deal because it's written within law that is a fair deal. And we do often, as a culture, as a planet, we do often offer thanks to the higher realms or to God. You know, thank God for all the things I've got, or thank God for this meal. But very few people say, oh, thank the earth for this meal. Thank the earth for this house, for this car, because it is made out of the body of the earth. People don't say that. So the whole way we view things, the way whole cultures view things, it is from from God, thank you God, or it doesn't come from a thank you earth. That we just and a lot of that is because I think it's too painful to acknowledge what we're taking it, or that it's against our better interests. Oh, I don't actually own this bit of land, it was stolen. I paid this for this car, it's mine. But obviously you don't have to give everything back, but in the acknowledgement of that, I think something can be healed, and I think the imbalance between the in-breath and the out-breath can be balanced more. Okay, you're right there.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, indigenous cultures thank the earth, don't they? Native American Indians.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, look how far they go with technology. They were happy with trees. The Native Americans still do. And for me, for the balancing and for us to survive through this next era, it's got to come back. Because unless we do start, you know, the first thing is to acknowledge it.
Is there a kind of assumption that the earth is part of God? somehow.
You have to speak up for me.
Is there do we just assume that the earth is part of God because it's part of the universe?
Yeah, it is part of God, and God is part of the earth, but I don't think people view that in themselves. If they're sitting down and saying grace for a meal, saying thank you God, I think the emphasis is to somebody sitting in the clouds up there. I don't think it is to the trees and the animals and vegetables that have given their lives so that they can eat. And I do that with all of my food. I thank the vegetables, I thank, sometimes I'm eating chicken or fish, and I thank them for giving their lives and hope their spirit has an easy journey home. And in that, as a byproduct of that, I feel like it connects me more to the earth. But it's a little bit close to the bone, thanking the earth, because it brings up what we're doing to the earth. It brings up our selfishness. Okay, well, let's just try that, see what happens as a meditation. So closing your eyes, just dropping into the holographic breathing, being aware of the in-breath and the out-breath. And saying thank you to the earth for everything you have, everything physical you have, including your bodies. They're made out of the body of Earth herself. And notice when you say that, if you feel your energies dropping in your body, if you become more aware of the out-breath and this sinking, deeper energy in your body. And saying sorry to the earth for the pollution it made and the toxins created or any harm that has come by that, you having those things. And again, notice what that feels like. There's a sadness there. Just the acknowledgement of it can bring sadness. Whatever you feel is fine. And you may feel a sadness from the earth, that suddenly you're in communication with the earth and she's an alive being. And she may also be sad that she is giving of herself in this way, and that we're not even saying thank you for these things. And that the pollution may hurt her. And it's not a blame thing. For me, there's just a sadness in the earth and a sadness in myself. And I make that acknowledgement. And then giving the same prayer, but to the earth and the higher self. Thank you for these things I have, and for my body, my spirit, my life. To the earth and the higher self. And you may feel the energy rises in yourself, because all of those things are made of both and connected to both. And then say thank you to the heavens and higher energies or the Creator those things in your life and your body. And notice that the energy is higher and a bit more connected to the in-breath. And that just in the acknowledgement, something can be healed. In the acknowledgement, you can reconnect to the earth. In the acknowledgement, you can start the communication with the earth, because that is one of the main losses, is that we stop communicating with the earth. But somehow in that acknowledgement, it frees you up to be in communication with the earth. Okay, and gently allowing yourself to come back. So we'll just have a 5-minute break. So Lisa mentioned something. When I said I was sleeping out in the wilds, I wasn't just on the floor, I was in my van. It wasn't just me in the elements, I did have a van to protect me. How did people find that meditation? Did you feel when you were saying it to the earth, it would connect, you were dropping in the body, connecting more? Do you feel like you're connecting more with the out-breath in that?
I found it really profound, and I did connect. I feel like I've connected to something that I've disconnected with, and I do feel very sad.
There's a sadness
yeah.
there, really. Just see, I think the disconnect isn't so much that we're doing all this shit. I think the disconnect is that we're not acknowledging it to ourselves and acknowledging it to the earth. And then when you do that, there is that communication. The real kind of injury is that in doing it all, we disconnect from the earth, and we don't have to, we think we've got to somehow make it all better before we can connect to the earth, but we can just connect. We can just say, this is real, thank you for this, and sorry for what I've done. And in that acknowledgement, suddenly there is that communication.
A bit like the Ho'oponopono thing.
The what?
Ho'oponopono?
What's that?
Yes. The Hawaiian
Oh, okay.
blessing. You know, the I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, or thank you, I'm sorry,
yeah,
please forgive me.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah. That's... No, I mean the Indians, the Red Indians, Native Americans, it's there in all of those cultures. And it just occurred to me that is why we're not, as a race, connecting to the out-breath. And certainly when I make that acknowledgement to the earth, it drops me into a similar experience of having my attention on the out-breath.
And it's self-perpetuating, isn't it? Because the out-breath is about the parasympathetic and relaxing and not doing. And the less we do of that, the more doing we do, and the more damage we cause.
A lot of need to have. You know, people want bigger, better, faster, more
coming from
luxurious.
anxiety, isn't it?
And it's a good training living in a van, to be honest, and having very little, because you don't feel like you've lost out. I really like the experience of being in nature, just sitting on the floor, cooking on a camp stove. I like that experience, that kind of fulfilling to me. And the Kundalini experience I had, I don't detach it. It happened in that time when I was with, and where, you know, now I'm still in my van, but in a community and also on a bit of someone's land. But that Kundalini experience dwindles away when I'm in those places. But if I go up on the ridgeway or on open land where no one's around, just with nature, that experience just starts kicking into full swing again. So we're missing a lot. We're missing a lot by owning the land. And it means, well, not everyone can own the land, but a lot of people do. You've got a house and you kind of own that bit, and that becomes home, just that little bit. If you're travelling, suddenly you haven't got anything, but you own the whole earth because you can see the reality of it. That, and for me, it changes the earth energies. When you put a perimeter around something, it in some ways it doesn't affect the earth's energy, but in a lot of ways it confines it to that place and working with the people in that place. But then that's one of the beauties of the Ridgeway, is that there's this whole 70-mile length of land. In a lot of places it's owned by farmers, but everybody has the right to go there. And there's an energy to that, because it's not sectioned off and nobody can go there, and the energies travel along it. And, you know, if the whole world was that, I mean, my image of it is that no one should own land, because it's stolen goods. People are paying for stolen goods. And that, you know, you stay somewhere, you pay a rent for staying there, and that money doesn't go to a landlord, it goes towards something that goes back to the earth, because it's come from the earth. But to do that, you're dismantling the whole of the capitalist society, because that is what underlies everything, is the ownership of land, really. And that is where all the goods come from mines and the minerals and metals and things from the earth, all the trees that are grown on that land, and people presume rights over it, and then rights over other people. And as I say, how do you bring an end to that and put something in its place? Not an easy job, but you can start with acknowledging, thank you, Earth. These things are made of your body. Sorry for the pollution I've caused. And it's not like I've done a terrible thing. It's just telling the truth. And for me, a huge sadness when I just acknowledge it. And I do feel it as the earth is responding to that. She also feels a sadness, one for all the pollution, but I think majorly she disconnected to her children. And I think that is massively connected with the out-breath. I think the out-breath is all relationship. I think that's why the default is to be aware of the in-breath. And we're very easy with, thank you, God. Because it's a bit so disassociated with what we've done to get the stuff. It's like, thank you, God, that I've got all this money, that I can buy all this stuff. Who felt when they just did it to the higher energies that they weren't very connected to the earth? Not so much for some people a bit.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Pardon?
I don't remember.
Don't remember it, okay. So anyway, so with the in and the out breath, we're working with both of those energies. We've spent a while connecting to the out breath and the qualities of the out breath, so there's somewhere for the in breath to arrive. And now we're going to do both. We're going to become aware of the out breath and the space in the out breath, then become aware of the in breath and the space in the in breath.